Picture this pear. You pick it up from the fruit basket, buff it with your handkerchief, and take a bite. A rush of juice so sweet and a flesh so buttery it stuns you. The juice runs down your chin, onto your shirt, and you can't help but smile. But picture it is all you can do, because the Ansault Pear is gone forever, a flavor lost to history. Let's look at some such foods we've lost and what they once tasted like. American chestnut tree, king of the forest. For thousands of years, the American chestnut tree was the undisputed king of the eastern U.S. forests. Their nuts fed everyone, people, as well as wildlife. The American chestnut tree was so common it is said that a squirrel could walk from New England to Georgia solely on its branches. But in 1904, disaster struck, and a tiny fungus called the chestnut blight hit the Bronx Zoo in New York City, introduced unintentionally by the imported Asian chestnut trees. Within 40 years, the blight wiped out nearly 4 billion trees. By the 1950s, the tree was functionally extinct. Though some trees remain today and new plants are seen, they don't mature because of the blight. What did its nuts taste like? They were sweet and creamy, texture almost like a baked sweet potato. A single mature tree could produce up to 6,000 chestnuts a year. Scientists are trying to bring the functionality back to these trees, but it's a long-term project. Only time will tell if humanity will be able to taste the nuts in future. Silphium, the luxury herb. Once upon a time, actually long after time, there was silphium. In the North African hills of what is now Libya, the Greeks discovered this legend. Considered the gold standard of herbs, the plant is believed to be one for all, a superhero plant. From treating wounds to upset stomachs to even a form of birth control, the herb could do apparently anything. Hippocrates even once said, "When the gut protrudes and will not remain in its place, scrape the finest silphium into small pieces and apply as a cataplasm." Smelling like luxury, silphium, also known as laser, was the ultimate seasoning in gourmet foods. The Romans loved it so much that they stored it alongside gold reserves. It even made its way on the Roman and Greek coinage. It screamed profits, and so it happened. The human greed took the product away. It grew only in the wild, and an insatiable hunger led to over-harvesting until between 54 and 68 AD, when Emperor Nero grabbed the very last stalk. As for the taste, ancient texts mention it as aromatic and pungent, somewhere between fennel and asafoetida, with a deep, savory sweetness. Gone by the 1st century, some consider it to be the first documented case of food extinction. Taliaferro Apple, the finest cider apple. Thomas Jefferson, in an 1814 letter to his granddaughter, said that Taliaferro apples produce unquestionably the finest cider we have ever known. In the mid-18th century, a Virginia landowner named Major Richard Taliaferro noticed a lone, unusually productive apple tree growing in an old field around Williamsburg. Thomas Jefferson encountered the variety, fell in love with it, and grew hundreds of its trees at Monticello. However, after Jefferson's time, the trees went into neglect, and they never spread beyond his orchard. Trees were short-lived and not considered ideal for commercial farming, and by the late 19th century, it had quietly vanished. As for its taste, its flesh was described as juicy, with a sprightly acidic flavor which resembled clear wine or champagne. Their acidic flavor made them perfect for fermenting into fine, wine-like cider. Jefferson once said that its cider tasted more like wine than any other liquor which was not wine. Ansault Pear, smooth as butter. Ansault Pear's story starts in 1854 in the town of Angers, when André Leroy's nurseries bred the seedling and eventually cultivated it in 1863 for the first time. And the fruit proved so extraordinary that it quickly spread within France, to Britain and the United States. On the outside, it looked almost like any other pear today, but on the inside, it was magic, a delicacy to behold. Tasters described a very high-quality flavor, sweet and perfumed, with a flesh so smooth that you could spread it like butter. Well, here's the catch. The trees were a nightmare to deal with. They were weather-sensitive and needed a lot of care, so by the early 1900s, farmers gave up. They replaced Ansault with easier and sturdier pears, Bartlett and Anjou, that could handle commercial farming. And just like that, Ansault Pears became extinct. Passenger pigeon, the bird that filled the skies. Imagine a flock of birds so massive that when they roosted on the trees, their branches would bend and snap under the flock's weight. Imagine looking up at the sky and seeing nothing but birds for hours. That's what it was like in the 19th century America when passenger pigeons flew overhead. Once the most abundant bird in the North American skies is now gone, forever. First documented by the French explorer Jacques Cartier in 1534, the passenger pigeon boasted a population of about 5 billion at its peak. Human greed eventually led to its extinction. Overhunting for food led to its rapid decline beginning around 1870. The last confirmed wild bird was shot in 1900. The species was officially declared extinct on September 1, 1914, when the last known individual, a female named Martha, died alone at the Cincinnati Zoo. As for its taste, it was a dark meat which tasted tender, mild, and non-gamey, akin to the modern squab or wild duck, a flavor so appealing that it led to their extinction. Old Cornish Cauliflower, one before the hybrids. Cauliflower enjoys a broad popularity worldwide, and with good reason. It's healthy, tasty, and versatile. But there was once a variant which was creamier and sweeter than the current one, the Old Cornish Cauliflower. Long before supermarket shelves lined up the identical white variant, the Old Cornish Cauliflower, a hardy variant from Cornwall, survived against the deadly ring spot virus that destroyed the other brassicas across Britain. Locals swore by this variant. It was Cornwall's pride crop. By the early 1900s, it was even being exported to France. But by the mid-century, things began to change. Commercial farming led to the development of French hybrids, which had a faster growth and better transport durability compared to the Old Cornishes. By the 1950s, the Old Cornish just vanished. As for the taste, records describe it as tender and creamy, with mild sweetness and more flavor than the modern ones. So, which one would you like to taste if given a chance? Stay curious, share this video, and subscribe for more.